Hi, I'm Chef Cynthia Louise and welcome to my YouTube channel because there's new recipes coming through every week. I'll do that again, yeah? Take two.
Take two, vegan quiche, action.
Oh, I love it. This quiche is very interesting because there's no eggs in it. And what's really cool about it is for all the egg-free people out there. Like a lot of people get anaphylactic shock to eggs, or it interferes with their autoimmune disease, or some people break out in rashes. Like it's really quite serious. And then you've got other people that choose not to eat eggs, you know, and this is for the whole combination of humans that have either a serious problem with eggs or have a value system around not eating eggs. So I think it's a gorgeous share. And the filling, I'm going to flavour this with roasted pumpkin and caramelized onions, but you could use just mushrooms and make a beautiful mushroom and asparagus quiche. But at the end of the day, it's the technique that I want to show you and keep it as simple as possible. What's really great for me is the base, and I'm using it, the recipe out of my second cookbook, Celebrate Your Sweet Tooth Naturally. And the base is from the pumpkin pie recipe, which is sublime. Let me show you. And I know it's a sweets book. I get that. You know, it's all about baking, and I actually dedicated it to my son, Jamin. One day he might have children or want to change his palate and have some real sugar in his life. I know kids, right? They do the things. But there's this one recipe. Where is that? Here, this pumpkin pie. This crust is so versatile. I was actually really quite surprised when we first made it. And in the ingredients is white spelt flour, coconut sugar. I know, and it's only 12 grams. A lot of people write in and go, "You sure it's only 12 grams? I'm like, it's only 12 grams. And then we've got salt, coconut oil, which is frozen, and ice water. So let me take you to this process. But just so you know, this is an incredible recipe on its own with the pumpkin pie filling. But that base, my gosh, what a stunner it is to transform it into something savoury. So I'm going to use white spelt flour. You can use wholemeal if you like, but I love the white. I find it really quite delicious. And I'm using spelt because it's a wonderful, you know, it's a wonderful wheat. Do you know there's many types of wheat out there? There's cremort, there's spelt, there's garden wheat. I call it garden wheat. There's just many times. There's barley. There's so many different wheats, but I just love spelt. And this is a gorgeous organic spelt flour. Now, the key thing is to freeze your coconut oil. And you can notice how I've done it in a kind of a large, is that circumference? I actually don't know. But the reason why I did that is because I want it to spread out and not clump up in a bowl. So freezing your coconut oil is the most important part, because in pastry, you need to use butter, like really cold butter. Yeah, and all you gotta do is and you're just gonna chop it up. So that's the key process of making this quiche. And I've got that 12 grams of coconut sugar, and I've got some ice water with ice cubes in it. Really important. And then I want a pinch of salt. Coconut sugar. Just going to quickly, briefly pulse this so it just combines. Next, I'm going to add the coconut oil that's frozen and chopped up. And you want to blend this so it actually forms into a little bit of a crumb, but just breaking down, and you'll hear the machine doing that. See how that's broken down just by the sound? Now I'm going to add the ice, really cold and icy. you can see it's very crumbly and you're like, how is this going to form into a pastry? Well, it does, trust me. Trust me on this. So you don't want it to form into a ball in here, it's really important. So now we're going to take out this mix and put it straight onto the chopping board. You want to put a bit of flour on the board so things don't stick. And see I'm sprinkling that on there? A lot of people get mistaken that it should stay like that, but you need to move it off the board, right? And now you've got something to play with here, but you also got a nice non-stick surface. Just going to grab it. I'm just going to squeeze it. You can kind of just see how it's coming together really quite beautifully. It's just be confident. Like a lot of people just go, oh, it's all crumbly. No, just be confident. Scoop it in like this. Lift it up. Get some more flour there. Brush it over. Now we've got a beautiful ball that I hardly touched, and now we're going to roll that out. I prefer a rolling pin like this, which is just from the hardware store. And I coat it with flour. And I want to roll it at the size of my actual round baking tin. So I'm going to use a baking tin that measures around 24.35 centimeters. It's a pie tin, and you can line it, but when I have a non-stick one, I don't line it, which I have today. So that's the size that you want. Put that flour back over and just roll evenly and gently with the pressure of your body, just kind of leaning on the pin. And always pick it up. So this is cool. This is what I do. And I do this. And then I get the pastry and I flick it over the rolling pin. I pick it up. I get the tin and I do these ones, and I'm super present. And my legs are still wide. I'm just like, oh my goodness. And I gently just let it fall in like that. You can leave it like that, as rustic as you want. I like to cut it down a little bit. And I'm just going to make it also as rustic as possible. I don't want it very even. Like super, super rustic. I'm going to actually fork it. Just a few holes. Okay, that's really it. And it's straight into a preheated oven at 150 for about 10 minutes, just to allow it to get that little crunchiness happening. And pre-cooking it is definitely the way to go for me. Sometimes my oven is really, really, really hot, and sometimes it's not. It's so bizarre. I can't even explain it. But you need to have a relationship with your oven. For me, I'm on 150 here, around about 150. And I know if I go to my mum's house, it's a different degrees. It's like, it's a hot oven. Her oven's really new and it's fast and it has this fan. And mine's like, 6 years old or whatever. Timer, 10 minutes. And we get the filling ready. The flavors I'm using today in this beautiful quiche is roast pumpkin, caramelized onions. And you can use anything you want, right? Really, mushrooms, asparagus, broccoli, leek, whatever, but I'm choosing to use this today. And the fresh component of the onion and garlic is in this quiche, and so is the dried garlic powder and the dried onion powder. And then we've got turmeric, savoury yeast, we've got the acid, lemon juice and apple cider vinegar, and we've got some beautiful turmeric to make that colour kind of an eggy kind of looking colour. Then we're going to hold it together with potato starch. And potato starch really just brings the liquids together and it creates a firmness of the quiche. And the last piece to get it to that eggy flavour is black salt. And it's called 𝗚𝗚𝗚𝗚𝗚, I think that's how you say it. And it smells like sulfur. It is unbelievably strong and crazy, crazy smells to that that match eggs. It's unreal. If you're not into that salt, Don't worry about it. You don't need to use it. So the first process is we're going to break down the tofu and the onion and garlic together, just a little bit of a pulse, and then we're going to add all the other ingredients in there except for the pumpkin and the caramelized onions, because we want to place them into the quiche, not have them into a mush. Okay, you just want to pulse this just to break down those chunks of onion and garlic. Okay, after that's broken down a bit, you can kind of see that all that onion and garlic is all mushed in there, and that's what we want. And now the next process is to add all our other ingredients. So savoury yeast, onion powder, garlic powder, turmeric for the colour. Now we've got the potato starch, around about a tablespoon of lemon juice, and then a little bit of apple cider vinegar. I know, both acids, right? Everything creates a balance. And we're going to whiz that up so it all combines. Okay. What do we need now? Salt and pepper. But do the pepper first, not the normal salt, because the black 𝗚𝗚𝗘𝗗𝗧𝗦 salt is really strong. It's salty as it is. We want that for the flavour of the sulphur, but we also want to season with salt, but use the black salt first, and I'll show you what that looks like. So pepper. And then I'm going to use this stuff. Now, if you can smell this, you will be blown away, because it smells like the strongest sulphur I've ever had. And have a look at the front. A lot of people talk about Himalayan salt only being pink, but there are so many different colours and so many different textures and so many different smells to salt. And this one, oh, it's so strong. Oh, you need to smell that. Seriously, it is so strong. Here, smell it. It is so strong, right? It's intense. It's really intense. So you just want like a little sprinkle to start with. And you just add as you go. If you want a little bit more, you add a little bit more, but I always start with just a little sprinkle and then give it a whiz. Like it smells like egg. Next is I'm going to add about 5 to 6 tablespoons of plant milk. Any milk you like. Can be soy milk, can be rice milk, can be coconut milk, whatever you like, oat milk, it's up to you. It's going to give me just a little bit more texture for that potato starch to actually hold everything into place. This is when you taste it. It definitely needs normal salt, but I'm going to add a little bit more of the black salt. It's like just a little bit, Cynthia, don't overdo it. I always do this, I always say to myself, don't put too much in. And now I'm going to use my normal Himalayan salt for that saltiness to come through, because it's the building blocks of flavour, right? It's so important. It's really good to change over your salt. If you're new to my channel, go to one of my videos about salt, because it's like, I use so many different types of salt. I don't just use the same salt every time. The reason why I do that is because of the different mineral content around the world. One more blend. And that is it. And you can see it, this kind of thick texture. So now this is perfect texture. And what I like to do is grab a bowl. Going to add our eggy fragrant mix into a bowl. It's like I'm talking to the film crew, but I'm also talking to you at home. You can actually see that texture. It's quite wet, but it's not runny wet, all right? I'm gonna put my caramelized onions. I've got about a cup of caramelized onions, which I just did myself with some beautiful balsamic vinegar, coconut sugar, and red onions, and just cook that down till it's a nice sticky mess. Then I'm gonna take my roast pumpkin, and I'm just gonna fold that through, just gently. And then I'm going to put it straight into my pie tin. Oh my God, this is delicious. You're probably thinking to yourself, how the hell does this hold together? Well, trust me, it does. Every time. I know my friend Ainsley, hi Ainsley, she's allergic to soy, like proper anaphylactic to soy. So she won't be using tofu. So you can use maybe some white beans, and you might just need a bit more potato starch. I want to decorate this with some pine nuts and some slices of tomato. I've got some cherry tomatoes here that I'm super stoked with. I kept them the other day. And then you can just grab a seat, put the music on and decorate. And just place them all around here. And then I just like to dump a whole bunch of pine nuts on here. Just gonna get your hands and you're just gonna press gently. Just pushing the nuts into the eggy mix. And lastly, a splash of olive oil. Look at that. Into the oven, everyone. 25 minutes, 160. Now we wait, and the whole house is going to smell amazing. What's so cool about this, when you bring it out of the oven, you can serve it straight away hot. It does not fall apart. What's extra cool about this is when you leave it on the counter for a good 30 minutes and everything just goes, oh, thank you for letting me rest. And then you can cut it and serve it with a beautiful salad. I found some dodgy pesto in the fridge, meaning I made it the other night, but it's still bloody good. And there's nothing nicer than roast pumpkin, caramelized onions, and some really cool, yummy, tangy pesto. Okay, so you can have this with veggies and mashed potato and steamed greens and all the things. I'm gonna have it with salad today because I've got a few lovely herbs and sprouts and some nasturtium leaves and rocket leaves and some shredded cucumber and all these incredible things that just make me smile. I'd like to decorate this so it's super pretty, and I really encourage you at home to look at your food differently, to take a minute, right, in your hugely busy schedule, whatever that looks like for you, and just think about how wonderful it is to be a little bit artistic. And you know how I mentioned my friend before, Ainsley? Well, she's in my private kitchen group and she's an incredible cook, and she always puts her food together like it's on show, but it's just her dinner, and she takes a photo, and I'm in awe of her and how she does things. And I totally encourage you to do the same. So I'm gonna pick this lovely plate because I think quiches are kind of old fashioned. And my quiche is really super, super cooled down, and it's actually quite cool because it's been sitting here for quite a while. And I'm just gonna make sure the edges of the crust can come off. You just get a wee little knife and run the knife around the edge. You can actually see how it's separated. Excellent, excellent, happy with that. A bit stuck here, okay, good, good. Okay, like I said, this is super cooled down, and now I'm gonna put it onto here, and this is how I do this. I tip it upside down. I know the nuts go over, it's okay. Put it straight onto the plate. Get my pine nuts back. Okay. And now I have this gorgeous little salad. Have a look at this. I've got some jalapenos. I've got some beautiful shredded cucumber. I've got some nasturtium leaves. I've got some broccoli sprouts. I've got some sunflower sprouts. I've got some baby spinach. I've got some gorgeous rocket. I've got some edible flowers. I've got my dodgy pesto that I just found in the fridge a minute ago. I've got my chili oil that I've made, which I love. I just adore chili oil. I think it's amazing. And then I'm just gonna mix this up, do a little splash of olive oil, and then a little bit of acid, like apple cider vinegar. And I'm gonna serve lunch. Lunch is ready. It's so pretty. It's even prettier in person, you know? When you're looking through a camera, it's very different, but it's just so pretty. And look how everything is holding so well in there. That's the gold. That's the presence of what food, real food can do. It can do really strange things like this and make an eggless quiche. Anyway, Salamat makan, meaning happy lunch, or happy dinner, happy food. Oh yeah. So much better with pumpkin and caramelized onions. I did one the other day with mushrooms. It was good, but this is 1,000 times better. Yum. I know when I make a recipe and I look at it, I think this is amazing, and then I taste it and I'm like, Jesus, there's something missing. This is what happened with this quiche the other day. We made it with mushrooms. It held together well. It had lots of flavour, but something just wasn't right. And then swapping it over to the two things I love, which is that acid and kind of creaminess component, right? So roast pumpkin and those balsamic, oh my God, those balsamic glazed caramelized onions. Put those together in this, it's like an explosion in your mouth. And that is the key thing when it comes to food. We make recipes from YouTube, we get all these cookbooks and we have all these amazing moments and we stuff them up and we go back to it. Just so you know, this quiche is so versatile. It has this ability to create so much abundance in your life. And I'm just thinking of all the abundance that can happen in this quiche. Creamy corn and broccoli, leek and broccoli, sauteed different wild mushrooms in here, put some reishi in there, some really good medical mushrooms in there, put some coconut cream in there to make it really lush, balsamic caramelized onions and roast pumpkin or sweet potato. You could do rosemary and leek and, you know, potato. Like there's so much you could do. It's endless. The foundation pieces are there in the video where it comes to the fresh garlic and onion to the dried garlic and onion. So there's foundational pieces, and I've said why, because it creates that balance. But at the end of the day, this amazing situation is incredibly nourishing and it's incredibly rewarding, and I'm going to leave it at there. See ya. We'll cut, mate. Cut.